Hey, what's up, you guys? Jeff Cohn here with another episode of the Team Building Podcast, where we interview top team leaders, broker owners, and thought leaders from across the country. Have an awesome guest today. We go way back. He is the founder of realestateinvestor.com. He's an investor himself. He is coming to us out of Tampa, Florida. Is that right, Robert?
You got it.
And I'm not going to pronounce your last name because I'm going to kill it. It's Syfert, I think.
You did it. Yeah.
Robert Syfert, welcome to the Team Building Podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Robert and I have had a handful of phone calls over the years, and we're both strategic thinkers. We're both go-getters. We do what we say. And before we got on this episode, we had just kind of talked for a couple minutes about what we want to talk about today. And we have truly not prepared a single thing for everyone other than in the way that we've lived our lives the last 5 years. So every time I ask questions, my audience knows this, but I'll share it with you, Robert. I always think from the perspective of the individual agent, the team leader, or the broker owner that's listening to our podcast episode today. And I would be remiss to not share all the way back in 2007 when I got my real estate license. I interviewed probably about 15 or 20 real estate agents in Omaha. And my intent of interviewing them was to find out the best lead gen strategies that they were implementing in their business. I was 23, $50,000 in debt, lived in a one-bedroom apartment, had just had a baby. I had a 6-month little girl, Jocelyn, who's now 15. All I wanted to know was, how can I sell more houses and make some commission income? I was 100% full-time real estate agent with a credit card as my backup option and bankruptcy as my sub backup option. So all of the advice I got, 2007, buy real estate. I have no money. I have a college degree. I've got an apartment complex. I'm living in an apartment complex. I have nothing to my name. And the advice people gave me was buy investments. And it's so funny to now look at my life 15 years later. My recommendation to people when they ask me for advice, buy real estate. Why? Those people 15 years ago saw the shifts ups and downs every 7 to 10 years over the course of their real estate career. And they knew, looking back, had I just bought 5 more doors, I'd be worth 2.5 million. And those doors then were 40 grand. Today, they're 240 grand. Guess what my advice is? Buy more real estate. Why? Because right now they're 240, and 10, 20, 30 years, they'll be 2.4 million. And people are like, no way. Well, it just happened. You don't think that the past is going to repeat itself? It will. Hence the segue into exactly your company and all the products that you guys offer. But before we get into that, share your story. Where did you come from? What led you to the point that you're at today?
Yeah, that is great advice. I can't tell you how many masterminds and doors I'm in where, especially the older, wiser, been in the game for a long time, the similar but answered in a different way. When you ask them, well, if you could go back and tell your younger version of yourself, what would you have done differently? I've heard a few people now say this: I wouldn't have sold any of my real estate that I owned. I would have kept it. Right? It's the same thing. Buy more and keep it.
Yeah. Or people that have sold Bitcoin. Yeah. I heard Bitcoin's at an all-time high right now. So
I've heard that.
About that. I don't get into that currency stuff. I don't get into the stock market. My game is real estate. So we're aligned on that.
Yeah, mine too. I don't mess with that stuff. I chose real estate, went all in, which is funny. And I'll tell this part of my story, right? I grew up in a great household. Parents still married today, over 40 something years. Will be their anniversary this May. But the epitome of the go get good grades, go to school, get a good job, and work, right?
Poor dad.
Yeah, I wanted to do real estate from a young age, watching a Russ Whitney commercial about buying and flipping real estate. I was like, that's it. If I just owned one more house, I totally got the concept. I was bought in at 18 years old, and I did nothing other than study and read and dream and ponder for over a decade. Got into Rich Dad, Poor Dad stuff, still just always scared to go do it.
Yeah, it's scary. Well, and the people listening, it's not even that it's scary. You were focused on other stuff. I mean, you knew you wanted it. You were educated. You were ready to pull the trigger, but you had other things that you made the excuse for keeping you too busy to go and do the thing that you knew in the end was going to build you the most wealth.
Yes.
This is all the people listening. Except for the people that have already started. Right? Even the people that are already investing, they still need to do more. All of us need to do more. That's my biggest regret, is I haven't bought more doors, and I'm almost to 100 doors.
Yeah, it 100% is. And it's, it all culminated, right? It came to a bubble where it was finally, I went all in and faced those fears. A lot of things led up to that. The end of the story is I went all in and I've never looked back. And that was around 2010, 13, I think. So when I finally did that, burned all bridges, went all into real estate, and it took off. Now, and the funny part is all the things I was afraid of that I didn't know enough, I didn't understand this piece or that thing.
Right.
I learned all of that by doing real estate versus any of the studying I did to prep that I thought I needed to know.
Yep.
And you and I both similar in this path, right? So now that's turned into, I mean, I don't, there's no fear. I mean, let me
do anything.
There's fear, but I use that to fuel everything I'm going to do. And if I'm afraid of something, I'm going to go even harder at it. Because that's it, right? That's the new companies. That's the realestateinvestor.com. That's why I built the software to solve all the problems in my own real estate business that allowed me to scale, to buy more doors, to flip more houses, to do more things faster, more efficient, and more profitable.
Yep.
Right. So that's the epitome of teaching other people the things they need to know so they can jump right into that instead of sitting on the sidelines, not benefiting them and their family to what's available to them.
Sure. All right. So let's dive in. So people listening are experts in their field. They're selling a lot of real estate. They're representing other people. They're representing other investors. Maybe they've picked up a few investment properties. They're dabbling, but they haven't made it a strong arm of their business or overall strategies. What were your first few steps in getting into the investment arena? And what should people that are considering getting into the investment arena, what should they be focused on? And I thought we'd spend about 10 minutes on that. And then we can spend the rest of our time talking about how to build and scale at a massive level. But a lot of people are just trying to get those first few doors under contract and start building out the systems necessary to be able to invest in real estate on top of everything else that they're trying to manage in their lives right now.
Yeah, totally. So number one, just do it, right? As Nike says, you probably know enough and are afraid to do it. If you're not, right? Most likely you can find so many things on YouTube or quick search or listening to any of your podcasts and probably have the answers you need. So step one, if you're already an active agent or a broker and you have leads coming in, right? You already have step one and you don't even realize it's in front of your face for investing. And I'll come back to that in a second. But for the people that aren't doing that, right? It's marketing. Like some form of marketing. There are multiple levels. There are layers that we could go into this. Obviously, it all starts with, I can go into stacked lists and data, which our software Property List Manager does for people. But at the end of the day, whether you do all of that, the most important part is that you get some data. You can go to forsalebyowner.com, and I bring that back to say that if you're already a listing agent, you're getting leads for sellers that are listing. There are a ton of those that don't list or that can't sell. Those are all prime opportunities to have a similar conversation, right? So it's number one, finding people that want to sell a house. That's it. Call them, text them, send direct mail to them.
Well, I'll mention real quick, Robert, and you're nailing it. Like agents think they need to change something. And the only thing you need to change is the way you think about leads that come in. And the thing that's so fascinating to me is I've always been hyper focused on highest income producing activities. And a lot of agents listening right now, and this was myself included when I was still in production, I'd go on a listing presentation. And all I thought on the listing presentation was I need to get this house listed at 7% or 6% so I can make my 3 or 3.5% and make my commission. That's the only way to make money off the opportunity. And it blew my mind. I was in Tulum, Mexico 2 years ago with one of your business partners, Gary Boomersheim. Yep. And we had been using Real Estate Investor for several years and having a ton of success in Omaha, spending about $10,000 a month, I think, which is a lot for lead gen. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys send out over 1 million pieces of mail a month.
Yeah, it might be north of that. We've done over 65 million pieces of mail across the country.
And so the mail,
400 pieces tested.
And so the mail that they're sending, as you guys have probably seen, is their little postcards. They'll say third notice, but there's a lot of other strategies behind them. We can talk about that today if you want. But the thing that struck me as an agent, and obviously as a thought leader and a podcaster, was Gary said that based on their studies, 70% of the lead opportunities on the investment postcards were traditional listing leads. 70%. And so you have a majority of your clients, correct me if I'm wrong again, are probably investor clients that don't have the residential real estate arm. And so that was a big value add that I brought to that investment group multipliers. I said, guys, if you have an investment group already, you are a residential real estate arm. And if you have a residential real estate team, you are an investor group. You have to just change the way you think. And so Clint and I released a podcast a year ago, my partner here with Dynamic Properties. And I said, you go on a deal, there's 5 things. What we look at are 5 things. And that's list it traditional is one of the 5, wholesale, flip, and hold. I'm like, it's that simple, but you have to teach and empower the agents to think about the house is more than just a traditional listing. Think of it as an investment opportunity, which brings us to iBuyer. And so we've empowered all of our agents to make offers on every listing presentation they go on by offering 30% below the market value of the property. And there are people that will sell at 30% below because of the life situations that they're in.
Yeah, you're right. It's just a mindset shift, and totally agree. Every lead in real estate is the same. It's how you approach it, right? At the end of the day, the people who are going to make the most, buy the most houses, list the most properties, are the ones that are truly caring about the seller. So what do I mean by that? I literally mean, what's their problem? Right? Like, and traditionally, the ones that have nice houses that are well kept and they want to sell it for whatever reason, to go buy a new house, to move for business, right? That's their problem. They got a list because they have a house that should be listed. And that's the best solution for them, right? And it's how most agents who aren't investing or don't see that do. And it's also the negative of the guys that invest, right? They get 70% they just want retail, throw that to the side. Are you kidding me? There's money in that. Like, you should partner with an agency that can list that and still work something out. And then for the agents, right, that are on your show, it's so simple. You already have these leads. If you're doing so number one is marketing. Once you're doing marketing,
you already have the leads.
You have the leads. All you have to do is, so you don't want to list it, or your house, we could list it, but it's probably not going to do well on the market. It needs X, Y, Z fixed up. This one down the street sold for whatever. Would you take a cash offer? It's one more question.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing. If they've done any marketing in the past, most agents listening are going to have some type of distribution channel to potential buyers and or sellers. Have you ever, people listening, sent out an email blast letting all of the people that are in that medium know that you would be interested in making a cash offer to them, that the day of the listing presentation, you're gonna make a cash offer? Because I know a lot of people are scared to list because they don't want people in their house, not just because of the COVID-19 now, but just because they're embarrassed. They don't want someone to see all the deterioration on the carpet or whatever the case might be. Maybe they're hoarders, maybe they're smokers, maybe there's a reason. There's people that will sell it if you're a cash buyer. And there's a lot of agents that have all this data and they haven't, simply because of the mind shift, haven't taken advantage of it.
Yeah, that's your list. That's why I said you don't have to go and stack lists and do all the fancy stuff that I can do with our software. I mean, of course, that's how you scale and get better, and we'll get to that. But you have leads, you have lists already, you have data, you have potential sellers, and guaranteed it's a percentage game. Like you just said, 70% of those end up being retail and should go retail. Well, okay, the other 30% aren't. Those are the people that they don't have a choice but to take a low offer on the property. It's not a low offer, right? They can't afford to fix it up. They can't afford to solve their problem. You're doing them a disservice by not offering them ability to buy their house for what they can take so that someone else can profit it. By the way, multiple people are fed by that, not just you, the potential handymans, rehabbers, whatever you can't do, right? There's so many ways. And it literally is that it's the same lead. There's no difference.
So I saw this post recently on Lab Coat Agents, and it was a great post by a good friend of mine, Kyle Whistle. And in the post, it essentially asked the question, what's the lead conversion ratio? And he lists a bunch of different things like Google ads, Facebook ads, Zillow, realtor.com. And we've been tracking analytics for over 10 years. We've generated over 1 million visits from the internet, which have turned into 100,000 registered leads in our current CRM for residential, which we use Boomtown. And we wanted to derive that information as well. Like, hey, which lead converts better? And what we found is that because the majority of our leads are coming from a squeeze page, it makes no difference. People are people. And I think it's to the exact point that you're making. When this mailer goes out, they're just people. When a lead gets squeezed on a squeeze page, they're just people. So stop, people need to stop thinking that way, that, this lead source is better than that lead source. Guess who talks about that? The companies that sell the lead sources. They're just people. They have no idea what they're doing. They're clicking on something. They want more information. So when we show up, when we, follow up with lead mediums, when we post something on social media and a person pops up, it doesn't matter. Just they're people. So figure out, to your point, how can you offer value to them? Is it taking the traditional listing? Is it buying their house from them and holding it as a rental? Is it wholesaling the deal to somebody else? There's lots of different ways that you can build a value. So let's get into a little bit more about realestateinvestor.com, which, by the way, congrats on the URL. I know you guys have like 10 different products. For anyone listening today that's not a huge investor that's wanting to get into it, what would you say are like the first 2 or 3 steps that they need to start thinking about? Like I had just mentioned a CRM. I know you guys have one that you offer.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great point, right? Like, and the funny part is coming from a different perspective, and I'll lead this into our products. We sell leads, right? We sell lists. We sell a software that stacks it for you. And you would think because of that, I'd be the guy saying, oh, no, you need that list, this way to stack it. And that's where you got to get started. And the reality is, I'd be the first one to tell you that's the last thing that you need from our arsenal of stuff, because that's going to layer in another layer of complexity, the more excuses as to why you don't get started. And the reality is you already have the leads you need, or you can go get them for free. And we teach many ways on our free tips and tricks on how to go do that and just talk to sellers, right? Stacking lists and all that fancy stuff, that's like, if you have a bigger budget, you're looking to scale. Now there are ways to monetize better, make yourself more profitable, but don't let that hold you back and that you need to do that day one. You don't. I
love your point. No, it's just like looking at a real estate agent that just got into the business. No one would go to them and say, spend $5,000 a month on Google ad leads.
Yeah.
You would start off by working your sphere, letting your friends' parents know you just got your real estate license, like all the simple stuff. Yes. Same thing with investing.
It's low-end marketing. I would be texting, calling, sending out direct mail pieces to any list. Because if you don't have a big enough budget, you don't need to worry about stacking and prioritizing anyways. Then, and more importantly, the part where that I would go with that is the CRM is a key piece, right? And obviously there are great ones within the real estate agent world where we come in and where we fit into all of that. And the number one thing that everyone needs, and they usually suck at least in my experience, even if they have a CRM, their CRM probably doesn't do this. And our bread and butter, and the reason I got into software was follow-up. And the number one thing that changed my entire game. And so when I say follow-up, some people think they do this well. I'm willing to bet money you suck at it. Even if you have a CRM, most likely it's just telling you that you should follow up and you actually don't do that work because
it has to-dos. I put all my to-dos in, but I never did anything.
That you never do. And most people don't. And don't get me wrong, there's someone on here, they do, or you're not on here because you do. You're busy doing all your to-dos. But here's the reality. Even if it can tell you all your to-dos and maybe you're the person doing it, I would just take a step back and say, why are you doing all those to-dos when all of that follow-up is the monotonous $8 an hour work that someone else should do? And more importantly, our entry-level software does automatically for you all that follow-up. You should only be spending your time. So you're wasting a lot of time if you're talking to people who aren't ready at all to sell, right? Maybe they are considering it. They're just tire kicking. You should be following up with them and nurturing that relationship. And that should be on autopilot. Technology today and what we offer, our touch platform, our light version is exactly that. It is your phone system and it automatically follows up through text, ringless voicemail messages, postcards, and email. So every follow-up point that you should be doing is already automatically scheduled and done and continues to happen. And when someone replies, raises their hand that, hey, you know what? I am ready. I do have a problem. I either want to list my house or I'd like a cash offer. Then it notifies you that now you have something important to do, not just a whole bunch of to-dos.
Right. And you even have a call team, I believe, that you make available. Someone can pay extra.
Yeah. So if you took it to the next level, right, that's just our lowest level. Automation and follow-up is it. Everyone, if you're on here, you need that. And it's under $100 a month to do all of that for you. Right. And I'll it's crazy.
I'll even say, Robert, before we started investing, my investment company, actually the first year used Boomtown, which is a design specifically for residential traditional sales. But we got away with using that. Just like a lot of people listening that already are investing, you might use an Excel spreadsheet or whatever simple function. It's when you were ready to take it to the next level and make it a business, right? Where you should start considering going into something like you said, Touchlight. And I will attest and be a testimonial for you. We've been using their systems for years and they do an amazing job. For example, let's say you've gone on an appointment and you made your offer and the offer didn't get accepted. They said, yeah, maybe in the future. You can literally push a button and over the course of the next several months, a letter is sent. And I think you have computers right now that are machines that are literally writing letters with ink pens. Is that real? Did I hear that before?
You did on the specific one you're talking about, but even on the now that's an advanced version. Of course. But even in the light version, that they're getting sent messages without you even clicking a button because you never said you sold the house yet. So it'll keep messaging them. Now on the advanced version, The system will change,
Right.
start sending handwritten letters. It can send UPS packages.
Cool. It's so cool. Essentially what you guys have done, and I'm seeing this a lot with businesses, is you're doing all the things that people don't do.
Yes.
You're replacing all those extra positions that someone might have, in the past would have built out inside of their city. You're just taking care of it all for them and getting a person to the point where they raise their hand. And that's where then the high intelligent, high income producing person who's thinking about, the highest income producing activities, they then can go on the appointment and they can do their thing. And you've eliminated like 90% of the heartburn of becoming an investor.
Yeah, totally. And then your point, our services that's just the services add on to that, right? So as you start to scale and you want to replace yourself, you can literally click a button and our phone team will start doing the manual callbacks to pre-screen them even further to say, are you ready for an appointment? Okay, what time and date works for you? Answer these questions about your house. So we can tee it up even further for you. So you don't even have to do that. Wow. And you don't have to figure out how to hire somebody. Right.
So what's the first step? How does somebody learn about this stuff? Like Touchlight, what's the difference in cost between that and then like the full on everything?
Yeah. So, I mean, we range from Touchlight starts at $97 a month. That covers everything, right? That includes your phone, your text, your email, all of it built into one tool. From there, you can add on features for a few $100 a month where you get all your contracts, appointments, buyer blast if you're selling your deals out through email and text. All that's built in and all the functionality you would need if you're a growing, scaling team. And then we add on any service that you do. Need someone to do all your cold calling for you? We have that service. Do you need someone to do outbound text messaging marketing for you? We have that service. Do you need someone to take all your calls that come in and call all these people back and qualify them further? We have those people for you. And they're all, think of every $10 an hour job that falls into your marketing or following up until the actual appointment and negotiation comes. We can do all of that for you. And that would, it's a $10 an hour job. So you can pay roughly $10 an hour to get multiple of our VAs already hired, trained, and managed for you, doing all the grunt work, the daily tasks, all the to-dos that need to get done, so that all you do is focus your time on negotiating deals and closing them for what fits your business model. Are you buying them? Are you listing them? Are you rehabbing them? Are you holding them? You get to have those conversations. We'll do everything else.
The fun stuff.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
Exciting part.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So is there a specific site someone goes to? I know we've recommended that anyone that listens to our podcast, that you be sure to put in the code ERS. Or let the person that you're talking to know that you heard about it from the ERS page, and they will have some type of a discount for you depending on the products that you're buying. But is there a specific page other than realestateinvestor.com? That's an easy one to remember. I think that's where you had said to send anyone that asks about the products. Yeah,
anyone could come there, and definitely make sure if you go directly there, and you guys could probably add a link if this is shown somewhere live, where I think you have a special page that shows them the code. But if you use the ERS code, or let the team know if you get on a call with anybody, then you'll get some kind of special discount as well on any of the products that we offer.
Cool. So, but from the site, you're able to set up a custom call, learn a little bit more about the products. And the intent of the podcast, that you guys, as everyone listens, I don't ever want to be a sellout and buy a person, someone that hosts a podcast that recommends products they don't use themselves. To me, that's a sellout. I promised myself when we launched this back in 2016, I'd never do it. And it's been years. I've never had Robert on my podcast. We've been using Real Estate Investor for 3 years. I've had Boomer Shine on a few times. The goal is always to share content that you guys can go and apply. You don't have to use the third-party company I bring on to be able to be successful. The reason that I share different businesses that I've partnered with is because it's helped me become more successful, faster, easier, less costly, less heartburn. And I don't know of a better business out there right now than Real Estate Investor. And they do so much more than Robert's even shared. He's obviously holding back. For the investor world, everybody talks about him. A lot of people on our show aren't dedicated investors. Most of their time is spent in the traditional world. But for those that don't want to have to go through all the heartburn of researching it, we've already done it. We've listened to thousands of podcasts. We've read hundreds of books on investing. We've invested in hundreds of deals, currently holding a portfolio of about $12 million. And there is no one better than realestateinvestor.com and all the different products they offer. And I didn't know as much as Robert just shared about the light version, because we went all in when we started. I think our budget was like 10 grand a month. We're like, let's go. So I didn't know there's a light version. So that's a great way just to kind of dip your toes in the water and start trying out the different products, and then find out over time what there is. And I know you guys even offer like coaching, right? Isn't there like a mentor built in that helps you know what to do depending on what your needs are?
Yeah, we have full-blown coaching that depending on what level you're at, right? We have a 3-tiered level there. So if you're just getting started, you need someone to help you with the inner game, the mental part, and the accountability, setting up that structure. Then, you get into you're a scaling entrepreneur, you're doing this, but you can't figure out how to go further. You need to learn how to be a CEO, and we teach you that, and then we can scale you from there and take.
So you've got skip tracing. Google it if you don't know what it is. You've got a CRM.
Yep.
You are mailing. You're calling, you're texting, you're pretty much getting after each lead in every way you possibly could. You're doing it for us instead of us having to go do it ourselves or find someone else to do it ourselves. And then you're even coaching, training, and holding accountable the person that's partnering with you to make sure that they're successful. What are you missing?
What just rolled out or is rolling out right now is teaching people how to have the conversation with the seller, because we found that's the last missing piece. We don't do that for you, but we'll teach you and coach you on exactly.
I mean, that's honestly that's the last piece. Like, how can you just replace it all and you just do it for me and then let me
We get asked. We get asked. That's the only piece we don't do. We don't close the deal for you. But we do get it all the way there and ready. And now we're teaching you how to have that conversation so that you can close the deal and find out, should it be listed? Should it be bought? Right? What's the right fit so you solve their problem and both benefit?
That's awesome. And just like an agent who prepares themselves for a listing presentation, you do your CMA, you run the numbers, you essentially become an appraiser yourself so that you know exactly what to recommend to the seller. These guys are going to teach you exactly what to look at when you decide, should I flip this house? Should I wholesale it where you close on it and then you just put it right back on the MLS? Should I wholesale it, meaning you sell your contract to another investor or owner occupied? Or should I hold it as a long-term investment? What's a cap rate like in your marketplace? Or should I list it traditionally? The thing that I think is hard for people to realize is that our acquisition managers, which are the agents that go on the presentation to share with the seller that we're able to make an offer on their property, they're more traditional agents, but they've been trained now to work on behalf of the investment company. They tell the seller that if they listed it traditionally, it would sell for X, but if they take our cash offer, it's going to sell for Y. And then they're going to show them why there's the differential. And you said it earlier, Robert, because there might be a $30,000 cost to get the house show ready. Right. Yeah. Or there might be different terms that it's going to be problematic because of the roof needing to be replaced or whatever the case might be. But we're 100% transparent. We tell them the truth. We have a fiduciary legal responsibility to share with that seller what it actually would sell for on the MLS. And then we share with them, this is a 20% below market offer. And here are the reasons why. And we, of course, build in a little profit margin. In Omaha, Nebraska, that margin is about $22,000. If we can build in a $22,000 margin, it's worth it to us. And people think, oh, that's taking advantage of someone. We're taking on a ton of risk. We have deals where we lose 50,000 and we've had deals where we make hundreds of thousands. We don't know. The average out of hundreds of deals has been about 22 grand. And so that's why the investor should get to make a little piece, and we get to, there's a lot of benefits of someone selling to an investor versus going and putting it on the traditional market. So one exciting announcement, and Robert doesn't even know this, and I'm going to speak for him. He's going to be coming as a keynote speaker in May of 2021 to Omaha. We're going to try to get their entire ownership group out to Omaha, and they're going to be speaking on investing. They're going to spend 45 minutes as a keynote at our team building summit. So if you guys haven't signed up for that, go out to growwithers.com. On the growwithers.com link, you're going to see all of our upcoming events. We're actually hosting our first ever virtual team building workshop in January of 2021. And then we have our first physical workshop of 2021 in March. And then we have our team building summit, which is in May. And we have a lot of amazing speakers, but I did want to see if I could get Robert tied down to come and be a thought leader for us on the investment space. I couldn't think of a better person. We'll see if we can get Boomer Shine up there with you and just watch you two go at it for 45 minutes. That'd be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. That'd be interesting. I'm definitely in. I love it and didn't know about it.
No, I didn't. I knew you didn't. I'm putting him on the spot just so everyone knows. This is where you create pressure and a little bit of leverage to get him out there. But would love to have you out if you can make that work. And of course, for anyone listening that's on iTunes, go out and give us a 5-star review. We're trying to get up to 1,000 reviews, and give Robert a shout out for coming on today with us. I know it's hard to kind of hold back. Before we got on, the only thing I said was that a lot of our listeners aren't huge investors yet. We want to help them become huge investors, and let's not get too far down the rabbit hole. That's been the feedback I've gotten from people to not get too deep. But if you guys have found this valuable and you want us to go deeper, let us know. We would love to dig a little bit deeper into all these topics and talk about the different products that you guys offer.
Awesome. It's been awesome.
Well, you did a great job, Robert. Appreciate you coming on today. We'll definitely plan on having you back, and we look forward to seeing you in May of 2021. Anyone that is wanting to attend and see Robert live in person or attend one of our future events, within the workshop realm, please go out to growwithers.com. Have a good one, Robert.
You too. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. Later, brother.